Tom, Dick and Harry will start calling themselves as specialty coffee, not even understanding what is it. I sometimes say on a lighter note that it's sometimes tougher than saving a life as a doctor.
Biggest coffee myth?
I got in not even knowing farming, not knowing coffee, forget about cafes.
Coolest thing about being a certified roaster?
Don't be very proud about being a roaster.
Is Kruti Coffee profitable venture?
There's a long story behind it, I'll just shorten
How
it.
many cafes do you operate?
A moment to think about it.
In the kingdom of beverages, two commanders stand tall, Sir Tea and Sir Coffee. While Sir Tea is gentle and polite, Sir Coffee is bold and commanding. In the battle of brews, Sir Coffee leads from the front. His followers have a battle cry that goes like, some days make coffee and other days coffee makes you. Namaskar, welcome to the podcast. I am your host Patit. Today I had a conversation with someone who serves the coffee commander in all his outlets. He is none other than the co-founder of Kruti Coffee, Dr Kamakhya Das. Dr Das is a certified roaster with Specialty Coffee Association and a social impact advocate. With a doctorate and a master's diploma from Tata Institute of Social Sciences, Mumbai, he has moved from public health and corporate leadership to pioneering specialty coffee in Odisha. His works have gained him recognition in global platforms like Gulf Food Dubai and World Coffee Conference. I had a blast talking to him. You will realize why. Let's dive in. Welcome Dr. Das to our podcast, and we are thankful that you agreed for a conversation with us.
Pleasure is all mine, Patit. Thanks for having me here.
Let's start from the obvious question.
Sure.
India is predominantly a tea loving nation. In our geography textbooks, when it came to coffee, production of coffee is largely centered around the southern states like Karnataka, Kerala and Tamil Nadu.
Absolutely.
Odisha never featured in that narrative. But you chose Odisha and that to Koraput for your coffee base. Why?
Well, there's a long story behind it, I'll just shorten it. I would say I'm lucky that my upbringing was in Koraput. It's a very rich upbringing, tribal, forest, everything. So it's not that I chose coffee, coffee chose me, if I can say that, and the impact behind it that we're able to generate, or the back end story, how I started, because my father was a land rights advocate for tribals. He got land rights for a particular village, Kindriguda, way back, 20 years back. And then later on there was a government project which was growing coffee through government agencies. That's where this village was integrated. Later on, it was a complete dead plantation because of poor planning from various agencies and the lack of understanding of coffee among the tribals. And I have seen this all happening in my childhood. And when I lost my father, I was not ready, but there was an urge deep within that we need to do something. And I was just around 2012-13, I was in Koraput. I visited this village which was my father's dream village.
Kindriguda, right?
Kindriguda. Yeah. And I saw that it was still a dead plantation. That's when me and my batchmate from Tata Institute of Social Sciences, Dr. Amol Jadhav, who's a Mumbai-based doctor, we decided we'll do something. Now to say that we planned a business plan and we went about it, definitely no, because for 5 years we just stuck with the tribal community, tried education and other aspects which gives them the confidence to get into livelihood.
All in all, we can say that your journey to this space was not conventional.
Absolutely.
It was connected with some sort of personal connect, you can say, to the Kindriguda village.
Yeah.
Dr. Das, Odisha is not known for its business friendliness apart from some sectors. When you started, how did you manage to convince your partners or your own team to believe in your vision?
First of all, I have got similar well-meaning partners that made my task very easy. They never invested into Kruti Coffee when we even converted it to a commercial entity in 2018, only for the returns. It's also for the impact. So that's a very powerful feeling when you are trying to do something meaningfully, right? Now, Odisha, because there was no bias for or against, that was helpful. I would not say that we wanted to do in Odisha, like today Kruti Coffee is taking coffee from Koraput and other parts of India globally. So that doesn't mean that we planned for it. Nor when we started, we wanted to do something only for Odisha. It was just a natural progression. And of course, when I transitioned to Hong Kong, which is the headquarter of specialty coffee in Asia, that's a very rich specialty coffee culture. Once I learnt about the value of farm to cup calibrations, and we transferred it back to Kendriguda village, then we realized that, like that's the right story to do. So I would say organically it has been evolving, and we have been evolving our strategy to make it a viable business model later.
Dr. Das, you were working closely with tribal farmers and women. What was your initial experience with them, whether in your childhood or in your professional space? Were they ready to switch to the cultivation of specialty coffee beans, or did it take some sort of convincing?
I would say because of 20-30 years of association, that initial barrier you face when you try to do some community change with the community, fortunately we didn't face that, because they have been knowing me since my childhood, and I have been knowing each one of them by their name, having grown with them. I can speak they say a dialect that they speak, so
nice.
That's the advantage of coming from Koraput, so that was easy. Having said that, when we were transitioning from regular coffee to specialty coffee, it was just not the tribal community that we picked, we also picked a few other farms.
Okay.
But to the credit of the tribal community of Kendriguda, they were the ones who picked it with more sincerity, with almost following the instruction to the T. So when we, did our specialty practices and we did the processing, we found the error rates of only 3% with Kendriguda farm compared to 20-30% with other farms. So it was something which is very deep rooted in the tribal community, which is that they honor whatever they say and they follow it and pursue it in a proper way. So we should give it to the tribal community for the success of Kendriguda more than probably Kruti Coffee.
Yeah, right. Dr. Das, I believe you own coffee plantations in Koraput, but what made you set up cafes when there is cutthroat competition from national and multinational players out there?
Yeah.
And my supplementary question is, how many cafes do you operate at the time?
Well, first of all, I would like to sort of demystify one thing, that we own the farms.
Okay.
In fact, the Kendriguda farm which gets associated with us is on a government land, but all the 40 tribal families which grow it, they are completely managed by us. We have taken their coffee to world class standards, because of which we got the World Coffee Conference award for Kendriguda farm. But coming to the second question, but of course we don't deal with only one farm, because of the scale at which we are operating today. We have to pick coffee not only from different farms of Odisha, but also from Araku and Karnataka. So because of what you already mentioned, that my whole learning of specialty coffee is from a global body like SCA, and you have to maintain specialty standards. So Kendriguda maintains the specialty standard. We get from few other farms from Koraput, and we also get from Araku and Karnataka. Now coming to why you opened cafes, because it's good you're asking that question, because many people confuse us as a cafe chain, right? Our expertise is coffee. Cafe is a natural extension, and it's the most inexpensive way to build your brand. If you are, let's assume you are investing the same money into a branding effort, it's unlikely to create the type of impact compared to opening a cafe. And you also monetize that with a healthy margin, but you are creating your brand equity in different locations. So right now we have 12 cafes, the 12th one is coming up. Out of them, 9 are inside Odisha and 3 are outside. So coming to the third part of your question, why did we think about it when there are global players, there are local players, multinationals, etc. If you go to our Mumbai cafe, which is in Goregaon West, it is just next to 2 of our competitors, and you see the business comparison, the vibe, you'll understand why we took that, because it's a global phenomenon that cafes stick close to each other, because then you get the target segment coming to you. If you are good, they'll come to you. If you are not, you'll lose them. So if you believe in what you're doing, you should ideally be taking your competitors head on.
Understood. Dr. Das, I believe that in a conversation with a businessman, if we don't talk about numbers, then we are doing some sort of injustice.
Correct.
So my question is, and it might be a blunt question, so the question is Kruti Coffee profitable venture, and how you see the path ahead? And the second part of my question is, how do you see scaling in your firm, not just in terms of revenue, but in terms of impact and value?
Pati, that's actually a very nice question, because you have graduated with more relevant points which usually people miss. So, you have to understand that we started 1 year, 2 years before COVID, right? So, you are actually trying to walk when you have become handicapped by the impact.
Yeah.
So, anybody else would have closed their business if they were in our position, because when we were just trying to rise, food and beverage business was completely affected during the COVID. So, from that we have grown 15 times in the 5 years. Our loss ratio was 200%, now we are at profit this year. So, both in terms of growth and sustainability as a business, we are there, right? Over the next 5 years, our aspiration is to definitely cross a barrier close to 100 crores and see that as a business, we are among the top 3 to 5 specialty players in India, if not more, right? Having said that, there are quite a few differences with Kruti Coffee, which we have consciously decided to stick to, which essentially doesn't allow the pace of growth as it allows otherwise if you are a pure commercial venture, because we are an impact driven social enterprise. So, you have to only not think of vertical growth, you have to think of horizontal growth, right? And when I am thinking of horizontal growth, you are looking at multiple other factors. Now, SCA, the Specialty Coffee Association, has changed coffee characterization or calling good coffee as good coffee based on cupping. If you have seen people slurp and they decide which coffee is good bad as the only parameter, to a new phenomenon which is called as CVA, Coffee Value Assessment, where there is a lateral integration, where impact is also given value, originality, the geographic area from where it is coming, uniqueness of the coffee is also considered to be an important factor to decide whether it's good specialty or bad specialty. And we have been doing this even before this parameter came in. So, we are a natural beneficiary of doing something good. On the vertical part, you do not stay relevant as a player if you are not growing your top line and bottom line. So, for the next 5 years, we are thinking of the quantum leap. For the first time from a bootstrapped company, we are thinking of raising capital to grow, because now we have cracked the model and it's right time to scale it up. Then we can have more impact, we can pick more Kindrigudas going forward.
I wish you all the luck. Dr. Das, let's talk about specialty coffee. Most of us drink coffee, but what is the most special thing about specialty coffee that most of us don't know?
First important thing to understand is what is specialty coffee, right? It's a very abused concept, right? I can see in the coffee industry in India especially, almost every Tom, Dick and Harry will start calling themselves as specialty coffee, not even understanding what is it. In specialty coffee, if you look at the image behind me, you have to calibrate everything from farm to cup. Your origin should be clear, your farm management practices have to be good, you have to measure your moisture, density, everything to get the good quality green bean. Once you get it, you have to roast as per parameters which are set by SCA, and once you have roasted it, you have to brew it like what you are drinking today, with parameters like water temperature, duration, everything has to be perfect. Now, the best comparative example of specialty coffee is your single malt whiskey, right? How many players do you think are there in the world which are very, very relevant in the single malt whiskey, because you have to be very, very calibrated, or good quality Riviera wine. So, that is the quality you have to maintain in specialty coffee, and having learnt it from SCA and from Hong Kong, we as Kruti Coffee cannot compromise on that. So, that also is a factor of how you are building your business strategy. So, apart from quantity, quality is more important. In fact, quality is more important than quantity.
Dr. Das, what do you feel about India's position when it comes to the coffee space? Do you think that India found its space, or are we still just getting started?
I would say we are getting started for the simple reason that I have been to the world of coffee and other events globally. I usually find that it's only recently that the world is learning about Indian specialty coffee attributes and why we are special, why some of the farms in India are also good. Because when I was at the World of Coffee Dubai, I was in the roasters village with our counter. I would be saying quite a few people came and asked for Brazilian coffee to us, Colombian coffee to us.
Okay.
So, what do I answer to them? But some of them tried our coffee and then they brought their friends.
Okay.
Because some of the ventures like us are also positioning Indian good quality coffee to the world. It's not only Kruti Coffee, there are many other good entities which are trying that. Coffee Board is trying to position it through events. So it's an early journey for Indian specialty coffee globally. Indian coffee has been exported for ages, but more in a very commoditized way. I think this is the time when Indian good quality coffee is making its mark.
Understood. You have taken Kruti Coffee to global events like World Coffee Conference or Gulf Food Dubai. What's the general reaction when they taste the coffee from Koraput?
Yeah. So the way every coffee from Ethiopia is not good. So the way every coffee from Colombia is not good. I would not say everything from Koraput would be good. You have to manage the farm properly to get good quality. So when you taste a coffee, there are two sets of attributes. One set of attribute comes from the geography, right? For example, the African coffee will not taste like Indian coffee. All Indian coffees will not taste like Koraput coffee, right? So one part of it is coming from the topography. Another is how nicely the farmers are managing their farm. But the most critical differentiation happens at your roasting. If you don't know the art, it's an art, right? You will not get it right. So generally, I have seen that 2 or 3 farms from Koraput, of whose coffees, green beans we have roasted, they are world class, right? And people appreciate it. There are more and more roasters, Indian and global roasters, who are picking green beans from Koraput and roasting it. So it's gradually becoming a quality region, and we also feel the same.
Let's rewind a bit. Tell us about your childhood and what were you doing before Kruti Coffee came into the picture?
So Kruti Coffee has been a parallel journey. So I've done my schooling from Koraput, from Kendriya Vidyalaya for 12 years. I've done my MBBS from Burla Medical College, VSS Medical College. I did my masters from Tata Institute of Social Sciences, and I worked in the reinsurance industry for 20 years. It's my reinsurance job which took me to Hong Kong. Otherwise, I would have never discovered specialty coffee and taken Kruti Coffee to where it is. It was my weekend activity. Because of COVID, I was stuck for 2 consecutive years in Hong Kong. And the best thing I did was getting into learning more coffee and transferring it back to the farmers and to our roasters here. So that has been my journey.
Yeah, that's very interesting. From being an MBBS doctor, then going to TISS Mumbai, which is still a very prestigious institution in India, and then going to Hong Kong and learning specialty coffee. I think it's quite an achievement. Dr. Das, how supportive has your family been in this journey?
I would not say anybody would succeed without support from entire part of the ecosystem, where family is a very critical part. Because when you see an entrepreneur's journey, you always see the front end. The back end is always painful because you're always doing it at the cost of something else, right? So that is where you need support from your family, from your friends, and other parts of the ecosystem who have to understand that you're doing something differently. It's not like a job where everything is fixed and you are just cyclically responding to it. So like any other entrepreneur, I have gone through all those pains and continue to go through it, but it's my journey. I have chosen it. So that's how it is.
Dr. Das, you are a certified roaster with Specialty Coffee Association.
Correct.
That sounds very fancy, but educate us about what is Specialty Coffee Association and what is the coolest thing about being a certified roaster with that association.
Correct. So when I went to Hong Kong, I did not know what is specialty coffee. So the first thing was I discovered what is specialty coffee, and I realized there are people behind it. So I started meeting more roasters, and when I met the roasters, I realized they have learnt it from SCA. So I know, why not me start with the last bit, and that's how I started my journey. I first finished my foundation level, then intermediate level, then my most difficult part, which is the professional level.
How much time it took?
Actually, you can do it even within a couple of years or a year, but I did it over 3 years because I was doing it along with a job. So I had my own pace at which I was doing it, but it's a very tough process. You have to be consistent in your practicals, in your theory understanding, exams, and your trainer has to really feel that you are ready to go to the next level, otherwise you can't go. And because I was so passionate about it and I loved it, I have roasted coffee from 11 different countries while I was in Hong Kong, and that gave me a good understanding of what level of differentiation can be brought into specialty coffee. So that's why that SCA certification is very important, because it's the world's #1 coffee skills body, right? And without it, you would not be having the right skills to differentiate.
When you were roasting coffees from 11 different countries, what was the most difficult coffee that you ever roasted during that journey, or the most easiest one?
There's no easy or difficult. I have to maybe articulate in my way that in coffee, they say the loyalty is only one batch.
Okay.
So if you get one batch wrong, you lose your customers. If you're a proper specialty coffee customer, you will taste and understand it's gone wrong.
It's that delicate.
It's that calibrated, and that I sometimes say on a lighter note that it's sometimes tougher than saving a life as a doctor. So you have to be very, very consistent with what you're doing. But I would say what is my favorite coffee? I always liked the Ethiopian coffees. They have a very complex flavor, and I like roasting them. I like drinking them, and I have given it to many friends in India as well in events, etc. So potentially, probably at some point of time, we will also introduce some international coffees in India, because India also deserves to taste some other coffees. And then, if you are next to the Ethiopian coffee as Kendriguda Naturals, and you still are liked, then we can say we are truly arrived globally, right?
Yeah.
When you are next to the best.
Yeah, of course, of course. Dr. Das, if you permit, we can have a rapid fire round. So, are you ready, Dr. Das?
Absolutely.
So first question I'm going to shoot. One word that describes Kruti Coffee.
Specialty coffee. It's two words, but specialty coffee is what
That's
I
okay.
Yeah.
Biggest coffee myth
Oh,
that you want to burst?
Biggest coffee myth is okay. You have to give me a moment to think about it. Okay, biggest coffee myth is that most of the Chinese people drink coffee. Most of the Chinese drink tea. That's what we think, right?
Yeah.
You go to any urban city in China, you will find that it's coffee all the way. And I don't think Indian identity in tea is bigger than the Chinese identity. So the Chinese transition is so fast. It's a matter of time that in India most of the people will be drinking coffee, and we might be a default beneficiary.
That's fascinating to know.
Yeah.
One coffee origin you would love to visit someday?
Ethiopia, as I said, that's my favorite. I would love to visit there.
If not coffee, what would you be doing?
If not coffee, what would I be doing? I would be traveling a lot. I love to travel and explore.
Not the medical profession?
No, I'm not the perfect fit. On a lighter note, I would say that India's mortality has actually improved after I quit medicine.
No, I think the amount of delicate work that you do, I think you would have a great surgeon too. If you could sit down and have a cup of Kruti coffee with anyone, alive or dead, who would it be?
I would probably, alive or dead?
Alive or dead, anybody.
So if I get a chance to meet somebody in person, I would go with somebody living. It's Barack Obama.
Okay.
He's truly broken many stereotypes.
If you had to start all over again from scratch, what's that one thing you would do differently?
If I start, I would first, and if the coffee journey is what you're talking about, I would probably start with a better understanding of coffee to make the business more viable at a shorter duration than what we achieved. Because we organically learned from our mistakes, which mostly happens with something we pick new. But I wish I could start with more understanding of coffee as a business, coffee as a trade. It would have really helped.
Dr. Das, what's that one business decision that you took in the beginning that you felt was a huge risk but turned out to be a game changer?
I have no doubt in saying which decision it is. While I was in Hong Kong, COVID hit, our business tanked like everybody else's, and I actually took 30 lakhs loan from HSBC in Hong Kong to feed into Kruti Coffee. If we had not done that, we would not have reached where we are today. It was a very risky decision at that time.
Wow. Rightly said in the Scam 1992, viewers have, if you have watched it, the dialogue goes like, risk hai to ishq hai. So sir has literally lived that life. I must say, sir, it was a great rapid fire, and Dr. Das has got beans and brains together. By the way, how do you like your own coffee?
I love it. Not because I'm biased. At least the way I like my coffee, I'm able to influence it during my roasting and brewing. So it's a easy option to be happy about. I would be more happy if I can get more good coffees across India, like if people, in fact, you asked one of the questions some time back, what is the coolest thing about roasting, right? So one of the aggregators who aggregates our coffee into their e-commerce platform, he asked me that question in an interview as to what would you advise to anybody who's trying to pick roasting, right? So I told them, learn the art and improve it rather than romanticizing it. Don't be very proud about being a roaster. It's a very continuous improvement art, right? So that's how it is.
Before wrapping up the conversation, Dr. Das, tell me, when things go wrong, and they often go wrong, so what is your first instinct? Is it fix, pause, or pivot?
Undoubtedly pause.
Okay.
Time is the best healer and it gives you the best answer.
I must say that it was a very insightful conversation with Dr. Kamakhya Das. He literally gave us some insights that gonna be helpful for not just the coffee brewers, but for all business players that are going to come in future.
I must also thank you for you, Dharitri, Orissapost, for giving me this opportunity. First of all, it's a pleasant surprise that business and that too business communication in English is appreciated because that's how you create a business identity of your city, of your state. More non-ODIAs will come here and they will also be participative in the business process. So thanks for this opportunity.
If you like insightful conversations like these, then please like, share and subscribe Orissapost Live.